Did Adidas just drop the sickest video of the year? Is nostalgia the trick to hook your audience for even longer? Those are just two of the many questions I'll be trying to answer in today's episode of Ryan Reacts. Now, if you're new here, I'm Ryan, agency owner, editor, and content creator, which means I deal with content every single day. And in order to keep me inspired, I've started this show. Now, quick deal before we start. If you at all catch yourself thinking, I'm fucking loving watching this guy talk about videos, or maybe you learned something new, do me a favor, will you? Smash the subscribe button. It helps more than you know. And without further ado, let's jump into video 1.
For decades, movies have been created by production companies with a seemingly bottomless wallet. But one day, everything changed. Cameras became more accessible to the average person, opening the floodgates of possibility and creative expression. Fast forward to 2026, and those same average people are breaking through the previous reality of how movies make it to the big screen. And they're showing their own film at 500 theaters across the country on January 23rd. But this didn't happen because of money. This happened because of you. And in order to thank you, Creator Camp wants to put your name in the credits on January 23rd. The goal is to make this the first feature film to have 50 to 100,000 people in its credits. This film and what it means for the future of movies is history in the making, and you can be a part of it.
Fucking sick! Okay, let me just start by saying, my dude, if you're watching this, you need to get yourself your own sleeping podcasts because your voice is sensational. I wish I had such a deep voice. Let's start with that fucking sick hook. Obviously, this is image overload, if you would like to say, but it's almost certainly a good way to set up a pattern interrupt to ultimately capture the attention. It's mainly just a collection of images for the majority, and some of the images are inverted, like this one, in order to create more contrast, and ultimately the feeling that he's trying to sell is a flash before we start into the story. A collection of pictures followed by a white flash. By inverting some of the images before we get to the main picture and then ultimately here having that clear flash transition, he sold it well.
Decades, movies have been
This is fucking sick how he's done this. Continues to be a collection of images, of course, cleverly placed. You can probably do this through means of After Effects depth of field, but you can also try and place these in Premiere Pro. You need to have all of the images at a very high resolution because what you're going to have to do is this image here, the first main image, is going to need to be big enough that you're able to scale it. The reason why I'm explaining this before all the haters come at me is I hate After Effects, and so I've done something like this before myself in Premiere Pro because I feel like that is doable and After Effects is just confusing as fuck. But yes, you're gonna have to have high quality pictures so that when you have them zoomed in, you don't lose the quality and it doesn't look pixelated. And then you place them cleverly and you basically nest the entire collection once it's here, and then you do the zoom in. As you'll see, you'll need to have blur effect on some of these images as they appear to ultimately really sell this effect. And you can keyframe the blur to be stronger the closer it is to the camera and decrease the more you zoom it out. In addition, you'll notice these added some texturized effects to it. For example, the color change here, and also there's a slight grit on top, which makes this feel cohesive and also kind of unique to watch.
They seemingly bottomless.
This is pretty easy to do if you understand how to do it well. There's tools that you can use whereby you create your own match cut, but in addition, you can also just go old school and look for a bunch of screenshots with, in this case, the word million in it. Then you want in Premiere to place guides on your screen to get it perfectly lined up every time, the word million. And then you just need a ton of screenshots, all line up the word million accordingly in order to sell the match cut. Then the additional details that go on top of this is you'll see there's a very thin scan lines that you can add on top. In addition, the distortion here at the top is created by nesting the entire layer and then selecting the preset lens distortion and changing the curvature to, I think, -16. I always forget if it's +16 or -16. Either way, try it and you'll see it does this effect of that makes sense.
This wallet, but one day, everything changed.
Also, as they flash through the word, you'll see that some of them, the colors are inverted, which is a subtle retention hack technique that you can use. All you have to do is just throw an invert on the channel and it'll switch the colors for you.
But one day, everything changed.
The subtle trick that they add here, which is nice and underrated, is these wipes that you see over the screen, such as here. Wipe here, wipe here. And you might wonder to yourself as to why these wipes are taking place, even though there's no transitions. So let me explain what I guess the thinking was behind this. So far, we are 5 seconds into the video. Everything up until this point has been pretty high pace. And so in order to indicate that we're switching into a different pace within the video, we've adding in these wipes to kind of slow down the speed. Instead of just stopping and going slow, suddenly, if you imagine a line at which pace this video is going, so far it's been all up here, right? And if we were to just slow down the video, now we'd be here, like a straight line down. And what you want, as any good speed ramp artist would know, is to kind of subtly bring the speed down rather than have it just go flat down. And so using these wipes is a means to kind of take it from straight down to slowly bringing it down, because the eye or the brain or whatever is still overstimulated. I could be thinking all of this up in my head, to be fair, if I still notice that's what it's doing, but that's why I personally think they've done this.
Everything changed. Cameras became more accessible to the average person, opening the floodgates of possibility and creative expression. Fast forward to 2020, opening the
quick trick here, this, you can literally just look for a lens shutter on YouTube with green screen behind it, and then you'll find that this bit behind it is green screen, which you ultra key out. That's how you can create this effect.
Floodgates of possibility and creative expression. Fast forward to 2026, and those same average people are breaking through the previous reality of...
Also, these details here, the scan lines again, bring so much texture into the video. I love it. And the like RGB here, overlay, halation if you like. In a different video, if it comes up again, I'll look up the breakdown of how to make it, but otherwise I'm pretty sure you can find fantastic YouTube tutorials that explain how to do the RGB effect.
How movies make it to the big screen. And they're showing their own film at 500 theaters across the country on January 23rd.
Keep in mind that I think this is the first time we actually see this guy. We are now 21 seconds into the video. We haven't actually seen the main character yet. I think this shows an important change in content, because one of the key rules of thumb a lot of the time is that you start by showing the subject, right? Go-to is show the wide shot first and then show close-up to give context. But in this case, we're 21 seconds into a video and we didn't actually see the individual yet, which kind of speaks for the ability to just edit like crazy as a means to hook. I'm not sure I agree with it. I personally like the combining the elements of like modern day editing with cinematic principles or movie making principles. That's my personal go-to, but I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments.
Showing their own film at 500 theaters across the country on January 23rd. But this didn't happen because of money. This happened because of you. And in order to thank you, Creator Camp wants to put your name in the credits on January 23rd. The goal is to make this the first feature film to have 50 to 100,000 people in its credits. This film and what it means for the future of movies is history in the making, and you can be a part of it.
Love it. Love it! Carrying on with video 2. This was also fucking crazy, bro. This blew my mind.
It's your birthday. We gon' party like it's your birthday. We gon' sip a party like it's your birthday. And you know we don't give a fuck if that's your birthday. You'll find me in the club, bottles full of booze. Mommy, I got the eggs, you getting the taking drugs. I'm in the having sex, I ain't into making love. So come give me a hug, get in the getting rough. You can find me in the club, bottle full of booze. Mommy, I got the eggs, you getting the taking drugs. I'm in the having sex, I ain't
Oh shit, here we go again.
First of all, phenomenal song choice. This is another hook trend that I've been seeing, and I've had it on a couple of my hook of the weeks. So it's like really intimate, up close filming of stuff, macro shots if you like. This case of the mouth, I've seen it done with shoes. I've seen it being done with just a side portrait of a face, like overly close. It's just fantastic.
We gon' party like it's your birthday. We gon' sip a cup.
That was also a crazy shot. Combined with the sound effect, this was mad. Could be a bunch of different pictures, judging by, for example, this, and then using a tool such as Higgs field, fantastic tool, to morph them into one another. You might be able to do it when you shoot at a high shutter speed. It will cause this blurring effect.
Gonna sip a party like it's your birthday. And you know we don't give up. Okay, that's your birthday. You find me in the club, bottle full of
This is nuts. This whole bit is crazy.
mommy, I got eggs.
What I also have to say is done well to really anticipate this really fast segment, again talking about pacing, is by speeding up the amount of logos that are flying in. Like starting off relatively slow and then speeding them up, you create this visual riser which ultimately prepares you for either silence or we're about to go fucking hard. And that's what he's decided to do. This is cool as well. So different to what we've seen so far. It was fantastic. In essence though, not incredibly hard to create, right? You add a black color mat on top, you put an opacity, in this case circle, on the black mask to create this hole in the middle. And then you just need to give the border of the video the blue halation, or you could try it with just a color mat as well. Just add in a thin blue color mat and then blur the edges of this circle. And then you have this already. Slight detail there that you almost missed, but it's so sick. These are just 3 different shots, probably taken from the video and then inverted the coloring. This is obviously something we've already spoke about with a million. This case, the only difference between how you do the first one and how you do this one is that in this case, the shots are actually shot out in public. And when you take the image, ideally, if you have on your camera the grid set up, you want to try and shoot within the frame of the grid the same amount each time, maybe even with a bit of space, so that in the post you have the room to like line everything up perfectly. What this guy also does so well is he's constantly keeping you engaged through change in pace. So this one was really slow pace, and he also used this as a visual metaphor to like slow down a sec, because this guy's literally grabbing his breath. And then we go to this, which is really slow, and here we're starting to speed up again. Here we're obviously getting the flashes, the wipes in between, then really fast running shots. Like we're constantly switching between pace of slow and high. And I think this is such an underrated talent for people that are new to movie making, is understanding how important pacing is.
Oh shit.
Here we go again. Fucking sick, bro. Woo! Then speaking of sick shit, it's time for hooks of the week. I've selected 3 hooks that I think were just fantastically done and somewhat out of the box. And the main thing that stood out to me this week is their use of nostalgia in order to capture your attention, if you like. Let me show you what I mean, starting with the first one. When was the last time you saw anybody using a phone like this? And yet, somehow, there's something, and this might be just for my generation. I could imagine 2 generations underneath me have no idea what the heck that thing is. But using a old school telephone somehow gives this feeling of warmth or home or remembrance. Ultimately, that is nostalgia, because this is what we grew up with that noise in our house when people still had house phones. Another example.
I'm looking for something with profound perhaps. Do you know what I mean? I'm imagining something light but powerful, the sort of ground.
While this one may be less obvious, somehow the fact that there's no tablets in this one, the type of music, and also the color grading, which absolutely slaps. And it also feels very, very similar to the Stranger Things color grade. Ultimately, it also gives a really nostalgic feel that, again, speaks to the same as what I had in the previous hook, this like warmth feeling. And then finally,
break the pattern today or the loop will repeat tomorrow. Break the pattern today or the loop will repeat tomorrow. You must break the pattern today.
To be fair, this one isn't as nostalgic, it was just fucking sick. But the hook in this case would be using the clone effect as a means to capture attention, add a slight flash to the clone effect, and you have yourself a sick as fuck hook. That is Hooks of the Week! We're about to round up with probably the sickest Adidas video I've seen in a long time. Now, I'll be honest, in advance, I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to break down absolutely everything in this video because some of it really went above me, but I'm gonna try my best. Here we go.
Predator or F50. You can only choose one. This isn't just a choice between left or right, red or yellow. Nah, it's much harder than that. This decision will define you. Tell me, will you make your own goals? Or take the pitch by storm? Do you wait for destiny to decide? Or go with your gut? Control or chaos? Mastery or mayhem?
Get your boots on, let's go!
You heard the man. It's decision time. Because you may want it all, but you can't have it all. Predator or F50. Choose one.
Fucking sick. What's surprising about this is actually how much Adidas have, in my opinion, probably used AI to generate certain visuals within here, which is being seen as common within cinematic landscape, if you like. And so let's try break down some of them. This was fantastic. This is what I was talking about earlier, going back to these like storytelling principles and showing what the context is. So this is then a basic movie setting, show what is happening. From this, you understand, oh, we just somehow went inside a person's mind and we used a slight blink, if you will, to show that we're in their mind and now we're in their point of view. The storytelling here obviously being Predator or F50, using Jude Bellingham and Lamine Yamal against each other, which naturally is Barcelona versus Real Madrid. It's Messi versus Ronaldo. It's an age-old story. It's established very quickly that you kind of have to make a choice. You can't be one or the other. This is achieved by swinging your camera and making sure that at some point you need to cover the lens fully. So if I'm filming this way, the camera at some point needs to touch against something that blacks out the camera, because otherwise it's going to be hard to sell this transition. And then you come in using the same motion on the next shot. In order to achieve this, it's good to plan out the kind of shots that you want in advance.
This isn't just a choice between left or right, red or yellow. Nah, it's much harder than that. This decision.
How I think they got this shot, obviously it's just 2 layers. They'll have had one video in which shadow is recorded, and then there's another video in which he's standing like this, and then they've gone and placed the shadow behind him. It's just rotoscoping, pretty much, and getting clever footage.
Will define you. Tell me, will you make your rain go?
This is what I meant with the sick AI transitions. I've been seeing this like into the sky transition a lot, and then in this case using the ball. My gut says this is just clever AI prompting using something like Higgs fields.
Or take the pitch by storm.
How do you get this shot? It's actually easier than you might think. All you need on your camera is this little baby. No, this is plexiglass. And what you need is obviously a clamp that can actually hold the plexiglass in place in front of your camera, and get a clean one because mine's dirty as fuck. But basically, once you have that in front of your camera, you get, in this case, Lamine to spray paint the face on here, and then at the end of it, spray paint it fully so that you can make the transition to the next shot, which is here. And then we fade in to the new shot. And it's as simple as that.
Do you wait for destiny to decide? Or go with your gut?
This is also fucking sick. I'd imagine the way that you do this, obviously you need the first shot being this. Let's say next shot being this here. And then using AI, you need to come up with a sick enough prompt to create a seamless transition between the two. Now, the actual prompt that went into this, I don't know. I know that Higgsfield has a transition function whereby you can not do it in this level, but you can do these like morph into one another, these seamless transitions. I could imagine if you do clever prompting within Runway, you could do something like zoom into the mouth and make it feel as if you're going through a throat into the next frame to ultimately reveal this frame. But there's a lot of details that go into making a fantastic prompt. I'm thinking about organizing some sort of workshop with a prompt expert that could help explain how to make creative prompts. So if that's something you'd be interested in joining or learning more about, let me know in the comments.
Control or chaos? Mastery or mayhem?
How to do this like blinking effect, if you will. Nothing more than using an opacity mask and changing the mask every frame in this case. So they have it like 1, 2, 3, 4. Draw in the mask in this case so that it kind of symbolizes the eye, and then keyframe them in the way that I just showed or just broke down. That'll create this blinking effect.
Get your boots on, let's go.
You heard the man. It's decision time. Because you may want it all.
Then finally, this fucking sick coin. The first shot is like this. It's actually already animated here by the looks of it. So it looks like they just have the thumb doing this. It's actually empty and they've placed the coin. But how you do this, you can either using Blender create a coin. This is really hard to do. What I've seen some people do, well, in this case it might be hard, but they've made a coin, attached it to a string on a green screen background, and then spun the coin. So in essence, we've got the string, the coin is here, and you just film the coin in like an extremely high frame rate so that later you can slow it down. And then take that clip, remove the green screen, crop out the string as well so that you don't see anything. And then using clever keyframing, you like place the coin in this case. Obviously, these guys have unlimited budget and crazy amounts of resources, so they will have gotten an artist to recreate the coin in Blender without a doubt. But you know, my channel is about helping you improvise to try and get videos like the pros. So that might be a way to try and recreate this. That's at least how I would do it.
But you can't have it all. Predator or F50. Choose one.
Fucking love that video. It was absolutely sick. Adidas, she dropped an absolute heater. So with that being said, it's time to end the show. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you at all enjoyed yourself, I just remind you of the deal we made at the start. Consider smashing the subscribe button because it honestly does mean more than you know. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. Adios.